Yeah, what up, gaming? Man, alright. Um, oh shit, my phone's gonna die. That's like bad. Nah, that's not good. Alright. Well, alright. That's tough for me. This is just so that I can like think. I don't know what this is. I did this once, I think. I'm gonna do it again because they can. I feel like we should bring back old gaming videos, old gaming content. I think the current gaming content is way too saturated, and it feels like jingling keys in front of a baby. And I think that's really stupid and dumb, and we should stop that immediately. Everybody thinks that, but they just won't stop. And I get it, part of it's because of revenue, and it's currently what is rewarded on the YouTube system. But like, I think some people, those who can afford it, should stop doing that and go get yourself a real job, like a traditional job. I mean, um, like go actually don't work in retail. Retail's bad. Um, go work as a mechanic or something. I don't know. Go get a um a traditional job and then make good content because the current saturated content on YouTube is bad. And that brings me to the topic that I was actually kind of wanting to talk about today, and that is the issue with parenting. Because today parenting is like people are like looking at parenting these days and they're like everybody's really bad at it. They're putting like kids in front of iPads and it's corroding their brain. And I'm gonna try to keep this under 15 minutes. Um, and I feel like that is not a new issue. I'm not sure if really people are saying it's a new issue, but it just feels like it. People are acting as though it is a new issue, but it's not. It's been going on for decades. Like before, we had children in front of iPads. We put them in front of computers, and we still do today. That's been a thing since like the 1990s, I think. Like parents would like put their child in front of a computer, and the kid would do whatever on the computer. Um, and before that, there was the gaming console, which is still happening today to a point where, like, since the 70s, children would be put in front of, like, they'd have to be given this game console and they'd play on that. I feel like that has been really popular, like, until, like, the 2010s ish. Same with TV. That's been prevalent since, like, the 1950s. You put a kid in front of a TV, they can watch, and that goes on until, like around today where we stopped doing that because why have like a cable TV at this point? We have a smart TV. But the reason why that was so prevalent was because it was all on like it was all just like there. Like you didn't really have to do anything. The TV had its own programs that had its own business, which was giving to the viewer, and that's been going on. Um, it still is going on, but it's like less saturated, I guess, or something like that, because like not as many people watch cable TV or just like what's on TV, like live TV. They only really do that when it's like a very like major event or like I don't know, like a big thing that's going on in the real world or like a sport that's going on, like a sport game. Like I feel like those are like the main reasons why people would watch TV. Um, Before TV, I think it was books. That's been like a thing for a long time, like since like the 1700s. You give your kid a book, and they read. They like to read books, and that is still common today, although it's less common as it was back then because you have so many more options to entertain yourself. That's really what I think this is all about. It's about entertainment. It's about parents who don't want to seem boring, so they let their kids play and do something that's fun. But the parents have the peace in mind that their child is not bored and they're doing something that is fun and feels fulfilling to them because they're doing things like you would hope your child is doing something that they like to do. Like, take me for example, because I can't think of any other example. I like to create things, and I like to watch people be creative. So I use my computer to like um, draw or to like program. That's things I like to do. Things I think are fun and fulfilling, and so I do those things, and I watch people and I get inspiration from them. Sometimes I listen to music. I'm not an avid music listener, even though I probably should be because I want to major in music. Um, I like to listen to jazz a lot. Um, that's something I like to do. So it's a lot about like entertainment, self fulfillment, and that's something that parents, and that's kind of like the thing that the kind of criticism that parents get. It's that parents really shouldn't just put their child in front of an iPad or some kind of technology because children will inevitably find something that is disturbing or they probably shouldn't be watching at that age, at that level of cognitive ability or lack thereof. So they will see something potentially triggering and will not be sure how to respond because they have not been exposed or mentally prepared to see those kinds of things. And a lot of it is part of just the disconnect between the child and parent, which could explain the level of apathy or the level of disconnect or the level of that sort of I guess teenage angst or just displeasure or rebellion against their parents is because the parents do not often take the time out of their lives to get to understand and be a part of that fulfilling part of their child's life because they put their child into a an entertainment system of some sorts, like one of that being a gaming console, TV, book. um, and a lot of this has become really normalized, and I feel like that's the sort of reason why we don't really appreciate these things anymore. We've become complacent. We kind of expect a lot of these things to happen, um, despite how expensive all this is getting. Like people physically need the new gaming console. They need to play the new game. They need to watch the new movie. And people will tend to do that despite how many people have very poor economic situations because they kind of just crave to do that. And then a lot of it's part of like being in the know, being what is getting into what is popular, what is like everybody talking about, trying to be like keep like a finger on the pulse of what is happening. Like, and that is what I think a lot of this was like about. It's all really connected in that sense. I have to eat my food. I might have examples for before books. Because at that point, it might just be farming. Because there wasn't really necessarily entertainment, at least in the way that we had it before, like the Renaissance era. If you wanted to do something that was more formal, like go watch the town's local events, or go see like a play or whatnot, there wasn't really, I think, a whole lot to do that you can like do at home. because oftentimes parents had to like farm or produce something, whether that be like make shoes, or like they're a blacksmith and they're like making tools or something, or they're a farmer, which a lot of people back then were farmers back in like I guess like before the Renaissance and like the Middle Ages, the medieval era, from like 1700 to like 1400. That's like what, 7 years, seven centuries. So yeah, parents, um, they would have that kind of connection because they would spend children would spend a lot of time with their parents because their parents were the professionals. They were they've been doing the things that they've been doing for a long time. Like the dad has probably been farming. Like if he's like 45 or 50, he's been probably working out in the fields for like I'd say 90% of his life. Like if he was 45, he probably started farming at the age of 5, so he's been probably farming for 40 years. And he's trying to get his 10-year-old son to get a part of that, be um, be able to take his place when he gets too old to continue farming. And so the father and son, or the mother and daughter inside the house, they would be doing these things to be like to have this sort of master and apprentice type situation, type relationship, where they're spending a lot of time together because they're trying to do these things so they can have an economic livelihood, so they can get like so they can continue to live and have the house that they have, so they don't have to live in the streets, or like um, so that parents don't have to send their kids away to like an orphanage or something like that, or some kind of home because the parents can't like afford to live anywhere, or they can't afford to have kids. Um, but that kind of differs and kind of like branches off from the main topic of the modern day and the relationship between parents and children. I think that's really all I really have to say about that. I don't know, not necessarily something I really needed to talk about, but it's something I wanted to talk about because I just thought about that and thought it was interesting. And it's a lot more complex than what the media claims it to be. And I guess I could get into surveillance, but that's again a topic that I don't really have time to talk about at this point in time. I might talk about it in the future, but I don't have to talk about. I don't have the time to talk about it currently, and that's okay. I think I can just do it soon, some other time. I think that's all right. That's acceptable. I think. So yeah. Um. explosions. Actually, that's a terrible intro. Terrible outro. You should not do that. Bye. Death.